All electrolyte and hydration mixes and drinks are not created equal. I mean, check the ingredients. They have sugar or sugar alternatives, and there's tons of added stuff. Allow me to introduce you to the best electrolyte mix, Light Balance, LYTE balance.com. It's a naked electrolyte mix, which means no preservatives, no sweeteners, no flavoring, no caffeine or gluten, and no calories. I'm always on the search for the best hydration, and I've found it. My entire family uses it, and I use it on all my runs. It solved all my hydration issues. Your body needs magnesium, potassium, and sodium, which Light Balance conveniently provides in liquid or powder form. Pure, powerful hydration. Light Balance. Go to lytebalance.com. So, our guest today on the Mental Toughness podcast played collegiate golf at Middle Tennessee State University. He played professional golf for about 9 years on Korn Ferry Tour, Latin America Tour. He was a collegiate golf coach at the University of Tennessee. He started back nine coaching with his partner, Brooke Pancake, which we will talk about today. Back nine coaching is designed to help player development, golf recruiting, and help them achieve their dream of playing collegiate golf, giving players tools they need to succeed at the next level. Our guest today, I'm excited for this, is Chase Narramore. My man, Chase, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, we've known each other for many years. And I mean, how golf plays, right? I'm not even sure, remember where we met for the first time, man.
Yeah, I think it was, I think I was either right out of college or maybe still in college. You were working with Scott Stallings quite a bit. And I think that's kind of how we met. I think at Oak Ridge Country Club.
Okay. Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. That makes sense, man. That's good. Hey, well, let's start with this, man. I'm always fascinated just because of the time of year and Q school final stage just ended. I mean, you went to Q school 8 times, man.
Yeah, I think I went nine actually. I went
Nine times.
nine times to Q school. So, I hear kids, they always ask me kind of about the experience and especially guys that are coming right out of college going to Q school for the first time or even, a couple of times that they're starting out. But it's a very challenging atmosphere. And I think that's part of what, learning in golf and all the above is learning from your mistakes. And obviously I failed many a times at it, but I was lucky to make it to final stage twice. At that time when I played, you couldn't get your PGA Tour card. This year they were able to give a few cards out. But it is so grueling and such a long journey too, because you've been preparing for your, basically all year for, the last couple of months of hey, I've got to play really well in these last couple of months. But, kind of the advice that I kind of give guys these days is, it's just another golf tournament. The quicker that you can realize that it's just another tournament, the better you're going to play. Now, it doesn't obviously guarantee that you're going to succeed or play well or whatnot, but the guys that get through view it as another golf tournament, and that's a hard thing to do when there's a lot on the line. But it is a golf tournament, and it's obviously a stressful one. But the better you can handle that side of things, the better you're going to play.
What's one of the memories that you have that kind of stands out for you?
Um, I really the year that I got full status, and I think I finished maybe ninth or tenth in 16 maybe at final stage. I got a really good draw. I didn't play very well the first day. I actually made 18 straight pars. We were at the Bear Trap down in
Oh yeah.
where is it? I guess that's somewhere down there in Florida. And I
Oh,
was on
like at the
the easier,
Honda PGA
yeah, the
National?
Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they played, there's two courses there. We played the Honda course and then another one at Fazio, I believe. And I got the easy course first, and I made 18 straight pars the first
Nick
day.
Faldo, bud.
Yeah, the Nick, yeah. And I just kind of got lapped really, but in the end I shot even par for the first 2 days. I was like middle of the pack. But the last 2 days were supposed to be extremely windy, and especially the fourth round. I was able to, first off, on the third round, I got to go play the Bear Trap course, and I shot, and it didn't really, the wind didn't really pick up until about hole 14, which is when it gets really tough. but I'm 6 under going into 14. So I make par on 14. 15's obviously a really difficult par three. At the time, I mean, I think I've caddied for Scott there once, and I think he's hitting like 8 iron, 7 iron, 8 iron in that hole. I literally laid up on the hole. I back footed a 4 iron in the left bunker and made bogey. Just got out of there making bogey, and I shot 5 under that day. I shot 67 or 66. I can't remember if we played a par 71. But I go and shoot like 1 or 2 under the second day, finish ninth, and I was in the middle of the pack. The scoring average that day, the last day on the bear trap was like 77.8, and I shot 67 on that course the day before. So, that was probably my best, and it was kind of luck of the draw. Obviously, I still had to play well, and it was not easy conditions, but that was one thing that's kind of stuck out to me. And you can always you always hear guys say, "Did I get the luck of the draw on the wave and this and that?" But that one really, definitely looked out for me there, and
Yeah,
good
absolutely, man.
experience.
So that year on Corn Ferry Tour, how did that one, I mean, obviously go for you? What stands out to you about that whole year in reflection piece? So have you had time to reflect on it?
Yeah, yeah. There's several things. I loved every bit of it, right? I mean, it was a dream come true. Would have loved to have played better. I actually got off to a really good start. We at the very start of the Corn Ferry tour there, we played six or seven first of the events are in South America. And I think I made 6 out of the first 7 cuts. So which kind of locked you in the rest of the year. Basically it made enough it made enough money to secure your spot the rest of the year. So that was nice. But looking back on it, it's hard to think about it, but I played too much. I played too many weeks in a row. I never really took a break. Your first year out, I feel like you're almost kind of felt like you have to play, especially if
Right.
you don't go out there, and, top five or top 10 and almost kind of secure your card for next year. It's almost like you're playing week in, week out, trying to lock in the next year. Whereas I mentally needed a break. I struggled towards the end, and obviously did not retain my card, but then I had to go right back into Q school after I think I played 16 out of 17 weeks in a row. I was literally wiped out and didn't even really want to go to Q school. I made it to second stage and didn't play well. But that's one learning point that I would have loved to have had back, and maybe love to have had some guidance, even though maybe I don't know if I would have listened at the time because it's so hard to, sit events out. But, you know, telling young guys that, the mental side of things really is crucial. And, you even if you feel like you're going to go play well, if your body's telling you, hey, you're not, you got to listen to your body. And, I even relate it now back to junior golfers. I see kids playing too much nowadays in junior golf, and hey, it's okay to sit back and skip a tournament and rest and get your body back ready to go for the next one. So
Yeah. And that's what I mean, it's totally different being a professional golfer. You have that need because it's like, well, it just takes one. It just
yeah,
takes one tournament to play well, and then I can kind of set it up. Or if it's like
sure.
that pressure to take off, where junior golf, yeah, I mean, you have to be able to pace yourself and let golf be golf because it's. I mean, I look at it as not only the physical piece, but that mental piece of just competing all the time, and you're competing against your peers, and sometimes I mean that can take a big hit.
Yeah, and I mean you can relate both, right? I mean, like we were playing for a paycheck, being professional, but a lot of these kids that do it not really at a professional level, but a high level of junior golf, they're playing for a scholarship. They're playing to get in front of some coaches and make coaches see them a little bit better based on their scores. So I can relate very good to that. I feel like I think that showcases, like, it's the same in my opinion. Obviously a paycheck's different than a college scholarship, but in the same, you're still trying to put up a score on a daily
Yeah.
basis. So,
With what's one of the memories in terms of like your junior golf career? Even before you got to MTSU, what's one of those memories, man, that really stand out for you?
yeah, I was lucky enough to win our state junior. The Tennessee State Junior at the time was at Willow Creek in Knoxville. I'm from Kingston, Tennessee. You're outside there, so I've played Willow Creek quite a bit, and My junior career looked a little bit different. I didn't go to play AJGA events and all these tournaments that these kids are playing in now, the better players. So I didn't have that opportunity, but I was able to play my way to the state junior and I ended up winning. I beat a really, a bunch of good names. Jonathan Hodge comes to mind. I think me and him, I think I beat him in a playoff that year. He
Okay.
obviously a really good player, played Korn Ferry for several years. And Wes Roach. Wes Roach was young at the time. He's a PGA Tour player, and that was just a great experience, obviously, to win, and that kind of got me to where I was. That was kind of the one tournament that kind of stuck out and stood out to coaches. Coach Turnbow at the time, he's now the Tennessee Golf Foundation director. Whit Turnbow, he recruited me to go to MTSU, and he was obviously there, and it was just a really good showing, and that's all that'll always be one of my best junior golf memories for sure.
Yeah, love it, man. I caddied there at Willow Creek, USAM qualifying when they had the 36 in one
Six
day, man.
holes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
tough. So
Yeah.
hot in July, right? It's so hot.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you kind of following then on your journey, you finished playing, then you end up coaching and your assistant coach there at UT,
Yeah.
3 seasons there.
Yeah, I spent a semester at MTSU right out of the gates, just
Yep.
trying to just kind of off of playing professionally, and actually won the state open, the professional side of things, and I was ready to kind of start a family and all the above. So Coach Adams at MTSU gave me a spot on their team as the assistant coach, and probably a couple weeks after I took the job, I got a hint that I might could get the Tennessee women's assistant job opening up, and applied for it, came on the interview, got the job, which was awesome. Had really good connections, and I'm from
That was
right
with
outside
Coach
Knoxville.
Pavone.
Coach Pavone at University of Tennessee, and that was a blessing. I mean, not many people get to jump straight to the SEC that quickly. Obviously, the SEC is a great conference, and that's going to get you to a high level. And most of those jobs will get you to go to another, either a good mid-major school or even go in to be a head coach somewhere at a good program. So that was the goal, and that was what we had actually had in mind. But once we got to Knoxville, got around my family, started having kids, and I've got two little ones. Cooper is 5 and me is 3, fixing to turn 4. We wanted our kids to be around parents and family and grandparents and things like that. So we just decided to stay put. I loved my time at Tennessee. I was there for basically 3.5 years, coached basically college for 4 years, and really enjoyed it. It's kind of led me to where I'm at today.
Yeah, absolutely. When what's one of the biggest lessons you learned? Because obviously, I mean, being a player and then coaching, two different skill sets. But I always think like the best coaches have been players.
Yeah.
Um, but what is one of the things like you learned in those seasons there, coaching, collegiate golfers?
Well, I think you and I talked a little bit about this earlier before the call, but I think kids are way better than when I was younger. So it was kind of neat because I'd kind of gotten out of it because I was focused on my career and I didn't really think about junior golf or college golf, and I kind of got out of it and just focused on my professional career. And then when I got into college coaching on the girls' side, they were really good. We had some really good players. Michaela Bardwell comes to mind. I mean, she shot like 64 in the regionals to make it to the national championship. I mean, so there was a lot of really good players.
Was Bailey Davis there at that time?
I actually recruited Bailey. Bailey was not there.
Okay.
Bailey came in. I recruited Bailey to Tennessee, and then that was when I kind of stepped out. But yes, I mean I love Bailey is one of the best. I mean she is fantastic. Would have loved to have coached her. Have a really good relationship to this day. We go play quite a bit, and she is a fantastic person. But just the level of play. It wasn't as shocking to me, but just the amount of work ethic that they do have. Now, you're going to always kind of be hit or miss there, but at the same sense that the girls work super hard, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Fun.
So I think oftentimes, let's say if this is the level, guys think that they're up here and need to be told that they're here.
Yeah.
girls I've always found sometimes they think that they're here and they need to be told there. Again, it's a generalization, of course.
Yes, for sure.
Um, what did you experience during that time was different from coaching female golfers as opposed to working with guys?
Yeah, great question. I enjoy working with female golfers. I think kind of like what you just said, their willingness to listen is a lot more than guys. Like I feel like sometimes guys feel like they know it and they don't want to listen to you and this and that. And that's not for everybody, but a lot of guys feel like they're even a little bit better. So sometimes you have to show them that too, right? You have to almost kind of, and that's the beauty of being able to do what I've been able to do is I can kind of still go out there and do it and show them that, hey, I can hit this shot or I can hit this chip. And, it seemed like when I was around on the female side of college golf at Tennessee, I would go out there and chip with them, and they were like, "Oh, he actually knows what he's doing and can do it." So they bought into it a little bit more, and going out there and playing with them, and just seeing them, watching them let me hit shots for them and talk about how to do it. I think you just have a little bit more credibility, and I think that's where it was almost kind of easier to coach on the women's side, because I think that is a really big part for women's golf is to play with men. You see some of your best female golfers, they play like guys. They're aggressive, and sometimes girls aren't as aggressive. And there's some like Michaela Bardwell, she's ultra aggressive. So there's a fine line between the two. But anytime that a female can mix it around and chip and putt and hit shots with guys, they're going to tend to get better, even with its speed, whether it be just imagination, and all the above.
No, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So you finished coaching, and then I always say there's these hinge moments, and that's why we have this podcast. The hinge is one moment, one event, one decision that makes all the difference in our lives. It connects who we are with who we're going to become. So these doors that open are due to that hinge, and you and Brooke Pancake meet and have a conversation in terms of what the vision would be. But walk us through that moment.
Yeah, it was tough too. I mean, it was right after COVID. We had just missed regionals, or we had just missed the national championship at Tennessee by 2 shots, and that was that round. Michaela Bardwell shot 64 to make it to national championship as an individual. But we got home and we had knew that Judy's contract was up at that time, but we figured out, hey, we might have done enough. I think if we'd have made it 2 nationals, new AD with Danny White coming in, he's done a phenomenal job, obviously at Tennessee. We knew that there might be some change, but then when you get home, you hear the news. She got let go. What does that look like for me? I'm still in my 4th year. New AD. I didn't have enough experience to get that job, which was fine. Obviously things happen for a reason, and it's a blessing. But kind of how back nine coaching evolved is, yeah, I'm really good friends with Brooke's husband Derek Rendy. He played at Chattanooga. Really good player. He's my four ball partner now. We're both amateurs and
Love it.
get to spend some time playing together. But we went down there one weekend. I was still, I guess I was the interim head coach at the time, and we just kind of went down there. Our kids are all around the same age, and she was at home home with maternity leave, and just said, "Hey, I'm getting hit with a lot of these questions from junior golf and what that looks like in my path." And she's like, you're transitioning out, and like I didn't really want to move. I've had multiple offers, and still to this day kind of get offers to kind of get back into the college coaching circuit, which is awesome and flattering. But we just decided to take a leap of faith and kind of jump in and give back to what we've, all of the failures and all the things that we have done through golf and through our junior careers, college careers, professionals, coaching. We just have I feel like we have so much knowledge and expertise in that area to give to these junior golfers. And that's kind of how we got started. I wasn't a big fan of recruiters at the time when I was coaching. I just think they have like kind of a bad rep and things like that of just sending players just to try to, get people off of their roster. So, before I told Brooke that we would do this is, hey, we got to do this the right way. We're gonna, our name's on this. People trust us. The golfing world knows us. So if we're going to do this, we're going to do it the right way. So we built this consulting kind of recruiting in a little bit different of a way. Our goal is to get to know the coach and the program and what they're looking for. And that sometimes is a little bit harder than others to try to get coaches on the phone. But once we have the connection, I think coaches really see a value in that of okay, hey, these two know what they're talking about. They've seen good golf. They know what we're looking for. So we don't push people, we don't push players on coaches. Our goal is for the player to build that relationship up. Our goal is to stay in the background and help them mold that relationship up. And to me, in this day and age with these kids, they need help with that. They need help communication and knowing how to talk to a coach and how to follow up and what to do. And so our goal is to help them in the background have those type of conversations and help sell themselves, and let the coaches and them have that relationship and let them form that bond of, okay, hey, I could play for this coach, or hey, I don't really like this about this, and kind of go on. So a lot of things that we do is in the background, but also our job is to get to know what the coaches are wanting to make sure we're sending the right players to them. So it's a little bit different in a way of a consulting program. But I really enjoyed it. And, there's nothing better than seeing a kid achieve their dream to go play college golf, whether that be at the University of Tennessee or, at a junior college, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Um, Delving down this road, I mean, you're more than a consultant, man, because I always say this about a consultant is somebody that borrows your wristwatch to tell you what time it is.
There you go. That's
You
funny.
can borrow that one too, man. But it's
Yeah,
like,
that's a
yeah,
good one. I think I like that.
you're a coach, but so much of that is then building that relationship with these coaches in terms of what is it that they're looking for from golfers and then students as well, and who's going to be a good fit for that program.
Yeah, and
If you're struggling with soreness, pain, or inflammation, you need to check out Stamina Pro recovery patches. Developed for over 15 years, the clinically proven technology of Stamina Pro is free from all chemicals, all pharmaceuticals, all drugs, and it's 100% safe for athletes. I only promote products that I use myself, and Stamina Pro takes care of all my training needs, pain, and soreness. If you use the code DRB15, you get 50% off, or use the link below, Stamina Program.
yeah, and I mean, again, there's so many things that are within our company, but and we always tell kids and families this too. Like we have been in your shoes. We have played good rounds and we have played bad rounds, and we want to help in between all of it, right? I mean, you've got. I would have loved to have had an opportunity to have two people in my corner that have been in where we've been and to give me guidance throughout the process. And it's not even about, like what we check in with our kids weekly, bi-weekly, and just ask them how school's going, how life's going. It's not all about golf for us, and we never want it to feel like it's just about golf. It's a team, family. Our job is we don't care if you go play college golf or just want to go to school, right? Like we want you to be happy and succeed at any level that you want to go to, and we want to be a part of that. We're going to do everything we can to help you succeed and maybe play college golf or, go Ivy League and go to school, right? I mean, it's perfectly fine either way. We just want to be a part of it.
Yeah. So I think oftentimes when we think of college recruiting, parents, golfers only see the lights of D1 when um, I try to preface this by saying the most powerful currency for an athlete and for a golfer is playing time. So when you look at the University of Alabama, when you look at their 7-man or 7-woman who never even gets on the bus, like that's a great golfer. Like
Right.
that's really, really good golfer, but they're not even playing there. And so I was wondering if you could kind of talk about that in terms of fit of an NAIA, a D2, maybe a D3 school, maybe it is a lower level D1, but playing time becomes so important, right? Because this is, and I don't, I'm kind of leading you down this, but I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people realize, like, if you're playing Division I golf, yeah, you have the bright lights there, and but that is a full-time job. Like, that is so difficult, not only to be an engineering degree or doctoral degree, if that's the route that you want to go,
Yeah.
and play Division I golf. Um, and I'm kind of like muddying the waters a little bit, but let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about playing time a little bit in terms of like the best currency when it comes to fit and where might be a good level to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like probably the number one question that we get hit with, right? I think, everybody does have the bright lights of Division I, and a lot of people have that bright light, but they don't know what that means. They don't understand that it's getting up at 5 a.m. 3 days a week and going to workouts before I have my 8 a.m. Class, and then I get out at 12 o'clock. I go eat lunch, and I'm on the course at 1 till 7, and I have an hour and a half or 2 hours to study, and then wake up and repeat. Right? It is a Division I athlete, and there's a lot of Division II athletes that are a full-time job as well. But there's different avenues for different people. Your SEC, ACC, your Power 5 schools might have a little bit more of a stressor on them to play well versus a lower level Division I program. So, the goal is the only way, and you know this, being around golf, and I know it playing, and I always relate it back to where I was. And when I went to MTSU, we weren't very good. I got the opportunity to go play. And the amount of times that me and my freshman partner, Rick Cochran, he's from Paducah, Kentucky, the amount of times Witt told us that he was going to pull our scholarship and never let us play golf again. Like, we played so poorly sometimes our freshman year, but we had the opportunity to play. And I just think back to that, like, if I would have been somewhere else and I would have shot those scores, I would have been riding the bench. But I was able to play, and I made it to NCAA regionals as an individual my sophomore year. My freshman year, I had a scoring average. This is embarrassing to say to a lot of people, but I had like a 77.8 scoring average. But I grew so much that year because I was able to play.
Right.
And I could have went to the University of Tennessee and played on a very little scholarship, but I went to Middle Tennessee State and had the opportunity to play, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So kind of that story being said, you really, the only way to get better in this game is play golf and to compete. And not that you can't get good on the bench playing for an SEC team. That has nothing to say about that. You can always get better depending on the work ethic. But playing in tournament golf is so crucial at that level to just develop and get better. So, we always tell kids, you don't really want to go be the best player on the team, but you should be able to play in that 3, 4, 5 hole pretty quickly right when you get there. And if you're going and you're the eighth best player on the team, as much golf and as much practice and time and effort it is, you're going to hate golf if you're not traveling and being on that team. That doesn't mean that you have to travel every week. I mean, I'll never forget, I missed the first trip of my spring senior year. And I was devastated, right? But I was my senior year and we were really good. And I came back from winter break and didn't play well, and but that's the growing pains of college golf and how deep it's getting. You're not guaranteed to play every event, but you should be going to a university or a college that you have the opportunity to compete and play at on a high level, on a high basis, time wise, for sure.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, man.
where college golf is going now with the new rules and the roster limits with Division I think it's going to not only make Division I extremely hard to get to, but it's also going to make Division II, Division III, NAIA, junior college even more competitive.
Hmm.
So that, to me, that stigma of going just solely Division I, and I have that conversation with new families a lot. That's like the first conversation that we have, like, hey, this is where we're at, but it's not only Division I. The Division I, I think, is where those parents and kids, it's the only schools they really know about.
Sure. Yeah.
But as you get into it, there's a lot of Division II, Division III teams that can beat Division I teams. there's so many programs out there that are really talented, even at a non-Division One team.
Yeah. Early on. So, I mean, your process starts. I mean, they become most effective, I'm assuming, like freshman and sophomore year of high school. Is that when?
Yeah, and it depends on the level, right? The better
Sure.
you are at the earlier the age, the better it is to start to reach out and get your name out there. But sophomore summer is your big summer where you can start to communicate. But it's really important to be able to start to have that process up and going before that time, to where it's not like, oh well, it's already hit me and I'm not even really prepared for it. So
Right.
we tend to get kids started a little bit earlier if they can, if they're at the right ability and things like that, to start reaching out to programs, just to where once the process starts to where you can start communicating with coaches, we're ready and we're prepared for that. Where it's not like, because it's basically in the middle of summer and you're playing competitive golf, and if you're trying to scramble on how to get started on the communication side of with coaches during summer golf, it's gonna be struggle for you. So
Sure.
we try not to let it impact our golf. Our goal is to work on our fundamentals, work on getting better every single day on the golf course, and let the recruiting piece take care of itself.
Right. Right. Amen to that, man.
Yeah.
So, what is a path then in terms of where players from state to state should be like playing um, if they have the highest of aspirations in terms of like playing Division One golf at a Power Five conference?
Yeah, I think by the start of your after your sophomore summer, you should be playing some AJGA events. Some AJGA is not the end all be all, but it is the best junior tour that there is. You can play your state events. I mean, like in Tennessee here, we have the SNEDS tour, which they put on elite events that are really good. Like your state junior, your PGA junior. The invitationals that you can get into are crucial, and try to play as much out of state as you can. I think college coaches really like to see you play in other competition other than with your friends, because a lot you grow up playing in your state wherever that might be, and you get used to playing with your friends, and you start to know 20 or 30 of those kids, whether it be on the girls or the guys side, and you get kind of comfortable. But coaches really like to see you play out of the state as much as you can, right? Like your bulk of your season is going to be in state, but if you can add two, three, four, five tournaments out of the state throughout the year, I think it gives the college coaches enough information on you as a player to say, okay, hey, this player is really good, or hey, he or she's just playing tournaments that they're comfortable with, and they know the courses really well, and all the above. So if you want to play high level now, if you're wanting to stay closer to home, it's perfectly fine to stay within your state, right? But if you're wanting to venture out and play higher level and see where you can go, they're going to want to see you play out of the state as much as you can. In as big a tournaments as you can be in. But if you're wanting to stay locally and you've got a really good program and you're a good player, you're going to get noticed, by the local schools just playing your local tours. And it's not necessarily that, you know, other schools outside the state aren't going to pay attention to those local tours, but the majority of your traffic is going to come in state, which is perfectly fine too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said, man.
Yeah.
So, give us a well, I guess this question would be in terms of late bloomers.
Yeah.
Like, talk to us about, because I always say this, and it's depends on if I'm speaking. I'll show like a popcorn machine, right? And
Okay.
those kernels that are in there, and they're all popping. I'll just say, look, they all pop at different times. They don't all pop at once. So in terms of like the development, but like late bloomers, because I don't even think we know how good somebody can be till after puberty.
For sure.
Talk to us about that. If someone, let's say there's going to be a parent that's listening, their son or daughter is like just starting to like really kind of come into their own in terms of, hey, that drive, that want, but also that ability. Talk to us about that, man. What have you seen from like late bloomers?
Yeah, I mean, a great question, and you see this a lot. You start seeing it more and more. I think the level of play with junior golfers has gotten a lot better, and you see it more on the guy side than the girl side, because guys tend to develop a little bit later, some too, versus girls. But in the same sense, I think the biggest thing, trying to think about the correct wording, but if you're a late bloomer, communication becomes very important on your side, and it's not necessarily that you're selling yourself. It's just letting them know, like, hey, I'm a little bit late to the game, but I have a huge upside because hey, a lot of these kids that you've been recruiting, talking to the coach, they've been playing competitively for 4 or 5 years. I'm this good, and I've just been playing competitively for a year. Which to me as a college coach would be a good upside of like, okay, hey, they're not going to be burnt out, come junior year. They're going to be kind of hitting their stride sophomore, junior year, and going to really keep developing. So, it's sometimes it's hard for kids to sell themselves, and again, I think that's where someone like ourselves kind of comes in and kind of helps motivate them to understand like, hey, this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Kind of, our goal is to always help them turn a negative into a positive. How can we do that? And I think for a late bloomer, it's hard for them to be positive because they don't really have much to go off of. But our goal is to help showcase what that looks like and how to showcase it and help that late bloomer. And have the understanding of too, even a late bloomer might not go Division 1 right away. It's okay to go to a junior college, develop for a year or two, and then go to a Division 1 school, or even go to Division 2 and move up, or whatever that might be. But as a late bloomer, and especially with how the rules and game is changing now, it might be to where you have to go to NAIA junior college program and showcase like, okay, hey, this kid, it was a late bloomer, is kind of on a radar, but hey, he just came out and had a even par scoring average his freshman year in college. Let's give this guy a shot. Whereas maybe a late bloomer could have went to a lower level or mid-major Division 1 level maybe a year or two ago and been the ninth or 10th best player, and the coach would have taken a chance on him. I don't think you're going to see that as much now with a roster limit. But I mean, obviously, I can be wrong because there's going to be some that won't opt into the whole deal and won't have a roster limit and can take a few more guys. But I think coaches are going to be a little bit more picky on who they're going to choose and not necessarily be a project, because a late bloomer can be a project at least your freshman year in that development. So I think to me, the best bet would be to go somewhere where you're going to get those reps and competition in and prove yourself to those coaches. Like, okay, hey, I developed a little bit later in junior golf, but then I went somewhere, developed for a year. Hey, give me another shot now. Like now your credibility gets even bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we get to the fun part, right? Parents.
Yeah. I deal
So
with
so
them
many
every day.
so many different angles. Like obviously we have the stressed out parent out there on the golf course that the kid's always looking at them. We have the parent that's up there spotting, right? They're always a hole ahead, just trying to spot balls, all that
Right.
stuff. But totally stressed out. But then we never really see them what happens like off the course, and we never see what happens like behind closed doors. So I mean that part's always gets difficult. But um, it's different when you have kids, man, because what I've experienced, and even though I've got some cred from my career and what I've done, um, kids don't want to. I mean, my son don't want to listen to me. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like because, and this is what I figured out, because I'm the same one telling them, um, you you making your bed is part of is part of the standard that we have in our house, right? Here are the chores that you got to do, and you know what? You didn't mow that lawn as good as you can. We've got to redo that.
Right.
And even though I never have to tell them to practice, but it's the same voice. And I don't think they can decipher that. And that's why I think it's so important to have outside people like yourselves to be able to speak truth into it, because it's just it's not the message, it's the messenger.
Yeah.
So I know it's a long-winded answer, well, question, but my question is this is where do you see like um what advice do you have for parents in terms of, and beyond the, hey, just have fun and watch them play and cheer them on? Like, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, like you kind of alluded to it a minute ago, but you see so many a wide spectrum of hey, this parent is super hands-on. This parent's not hands-on enough. So I feel like I've kind of seen both spectrums of it, but realistically, the best advice that I can give parents, and people might say something totally different than this, but you know, as long as your kid is trying, which majority of them are at a level of trying to play, competitively tournament high level golf, however you want to frame it, as long as they're out there with a good attitude, they're trying. Now, if they're not playing well, their attitude's probably not going to be the best. But I think a lot of times I think the work ethic behind the scenes is not there when they're not playing good. So we've got to, as parents, I feel like we've got to really kind of not really worry about the score at hand, but how are we practicing before we get there? And those are the type of conversations that would be, I think, beneficial for parents to have with kids. Like, okay, hey, it's okay that you haven't played well, but let's look at how you've been preparing and figure out, is there a way I can help? Or, is there, are you needing something else? Or, what avenue do we need to take to help you get in a better position? Because the majority of them are I mean, I would want to say a lot of them, majority of them are trying everything that they got. Now, college golf or, junior golf, any kind of golf at any level is hard. We all know that, but just trying to be as supportive as you can, but also let them understand that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to fail. I feel like I've learned this more than anybody is it's okay to fail. And that's a hard thing for a 16, 15, 16, 17, 18-year old to do. And it's hard. And I'm sure I've got young kids and I'm sure I'll struggle with this as well as watching them fail. Because I'm sure that's hard. I can't imagine what that looked like. And, I'll probably want to listen to this in 10 or 15 years looking back on it as well. But, understanding that it's okay to fail and you don't have to play your best at all times. I know that might be a little bit off subject, but as far as like parents go, don't do too much for them. You see in the junior golf world, parents will get their clubs out of their car and carry them to the golf course. Like
Oh
it's just
man.
such a bad look, honestly. I mean, like let the kids take care of themselves. I mean, they should have snacks on their in their bags, and you could talk for hours on all that, but
You,
you know, yeah,
my favorite one, coach, is right after the round when the parent starts pushing the cart
yeah.
and then the kid goes automatically to their phone just trailing behind them. Like that's my favorite scene, man. I love that one.
There's a lot of don'ts, but in the end, you know, I I think as parents, our goal is to get them there, give them every tool that we can to help them succeed, and then let them just enjoy it, right? I mean, like there's a lot of kids and parents out there that maybe don't have this opportunity to even watch their kid play at this high level. I just think back to my parents, like looking back on it, was I probably not a very good kid at the time? I might not have been, but I was really appreciative of my parents taking me to wherever I was, and I don't think kids appreciate that enough. I would love to see, at the end. I mean, you really the parents are doing a lot of the work. They're it's a very expensive sport to be traveling as much as these kids do. So take time, if as a parent, take time to just enjoy the process. I think if you enjoy that process, it's going to put you in a better mindset, right? It's okay to be hard on kids. It's okay to push your kids, but I always tell parents this, if you want your kid to play high level college golf or even college golf at that matter, they're not going to get there based on how much you want it. The only way they're going to get there is how much they want it. And if you have to wake them up every morning to go practice or go tell them to go practice, their ability might be there, but they're never going to get there. And that's a hard thing for parents to understand. And I hate to. I mean, it sounds tough coming out of it, but there is no way that you can want it enough for them to go play college golf.
Right.
It just not. I mean, you can push them, you can help them, you can do all the above, but if they don't want to exercise, and they don't want to eat better, and they don't want to practice on their own. And they just, if they don't want to do that, it's a dedication. uh I think back to a girl that I had committed to Tennessee, Kennedy Adams. She was committed to Tennessee. uh we got let go, new coach came in, didn't want her. So she went to the University of Alabama. Now she's at Texas A&M, a really good player. And she said this, and obviously that's, all those schools are a high level. You're giving up a lot of your childhood. I didn't go on beach trips with my friends, and I didn't go to this or that. I went to playing a tournament. So it's a commitment to play at that level. And not only as on the kids, it's a family commitment too. So, that is that's how you make it. That's how you get to that high of a level, is a commitment level, and it has to come from the kids. It can't necessarily come from the parents.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love Kennedy, by the way. Great girl.
Yeah, she's great.
Um, boy, man, I mean, there's just so many different avenues of that. The one that I always like is it's tough to be driven when you're being driven. I've had golfers at that level, and the real difficult one is when you're good early. Now you can't quit. Now you're kind of entrapped,
Yeah.
but you don't love it anymore. If you get to that level and you don't love it, you're in trouble because now it is a job. You can't do anything without passion. If you're not passionate about it and you get to that level, now there's a lot of expectations, a lot of different pressure, but you're entrapped because you're not going anywhere and you don't have that voice to be able to, uh, because you were being pushed all these steps and it really wasn't you doing it. It was just you playing. And because you had some talent, that was great. Those are dangerous situations.
Yeah, it's tough all around, right? I mean, like, because then, once you get to a certain level, it brings on expectations, right? And in anything that you do in work or in golf or what in school or anything, right? I mean, if you're really good at something, it brings on expectations. And then when you fall out of love or the desire to get better each day, it will, in this game especially, it'll flat
Mm,
out just knock you out. So, trying to find that balance, and I think that's the most important thing is, in order to get better, and that's the goal each day, is to get better. We tell our kids all the time that we talk to them, how did you get better today? What did you do? When you show up to a golf course, you should have something that when you leave the course, you got better. If that's not the case, then you've wasted your time. If you spend an hour and a half at a course and you don't feel like you got better for the day, you've had a bad plan before you get there. Uh,
right.
and and I probably didn't learn that till college, and maybe even some into pro. And I think it's tough for kids to understand that, right? Because they don't have a plan, and I didn't have a plan. So, I can relate to that. I didn't have a plan when I got out of school at 3:30 in a small town. I just went and played golf, and you know, I had no idea what I was doing. But now, I think that's another great tool for, someone like us, is to try to help them. They might not get it right away, but if we start at 15, 16, by the time we're 17 and 18, like, hey, we got this. Like we're ready for college. And a lot of that's preparing you for college.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I mean, that's where I think back nine coaching, man, is just such a great service about what you're all doing. Have you and Brooke as trusted advisors and be able to help them out with that every step along the journey, man. I just see it as huge.
Yeah.
So glad that you're in the field, man, and helping athletes with that.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. I really do.
Um, Chase, what questions should I be asking here that I'm not asking?
Um, I feel like I've had this discussion a lot lately of how much tournament to play, and especially for junior golfers. How much is how much should you be playing? How much should you be developing? I think there's a misconception of this, and especially, and you see this in all sports. Like I just feel like my brother's boys are competing constantly in basketball and baseball and all kinds of sport. But you also see it in golf where kids, especially when you're in the seventh, eighth, ninth grade, it's a huge development. Your body's changing a lot. you're learning new things, you're learning how you're learning how to play golf, but also in the sense of, okay, I'm learning how to play, but I'm also learning how to score really well. But a lot of kids play too much. I feel, in my personal opinion, I think they play too much to the sense of, okay, how am I getting better in this game? What tools am I adding to my toolbox to help me get better to the next level? Yes, am I competing? That's a big part of it. And you definitely need to know how to compete at tournament golf. There's no substitution for that. But what are we doing in between those tournament rounds to help us get better? And I think that's a really good topic for parents and kids to understand of, and it has to go back to your swing coach and the people that are helping you develop is, hey, what is it? How can I get to that next level? What do I need to do? Asking those type of questions to the people around you to say, okay, here I am. This is what I've got. How do I get better? And, and it could be, hey, you need to go play more tournament golf, right? It could be that, hey, you need more experience and exposure to tournament golf where it's 36 holes or 54 hole tournaments, whatever it might be. Or, hey, you're here right now, but we need to add a few tools to your shot shaping ability or your short game area. And it's hard to implement new things when you're playing competitively a lot. So a lot of your off season needs to be adding tools, but then just kind of slowly implementing. Because if you're at home and you're able to practice, you're able to put those under the gun a little bit more at home and really work on it versus like, okay, hey, I go work on my swing and I've got a new swing thought and I got to go play in a tournament in 2 days. Well, you get in that tournament, you're never going to actually do that swing thought. Whether you may think you are or not, you haven't had enough time or reps to do it. And I mean, it takes months upon thousands of balls to implement swing changes. And I'm not saying that you need to play a tournament and take a month off and, not, go work on your game, but, there needs to be some time to develop. I think kids struggle asking questions too. There's another part to our company. I help kids on the course with player development. And that was something that I felt like I was really good at. And I don't think many people do. And swing coaches don't really have time to do. There's obviously some out there that take time for junior golf to get them on the course. But, you know, who they don't ask the questions to say, okay, when my shot's overdrawing, what am I doing? And you see at a higher level, you start looking at high level college golf and even the pros, they know they're not hitting that next shot guessing. And a lot of times junior golfers guess. They hit a foul ball, they're guessing on that next swing. And when you do that, I don't feel like you're ready for that yet. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that goes to asking questions. So not being scared to ask questions. I think that's a really good topic to kind of talk to. And that's not only for junior golfers, but it's just for everything. Asking questions is the only way you're going to get better in this game. And I'm sure you've seen that a lot too.
Yeah, it's so important, man. Especially just, I mean, they've got to have agency. They got to have their voice. They got to be able to use their voice. Um, no, that's great, man. Chase, I'm gonna put the links on there, of course, but I'm glad we could connect here, man, and have our episode and really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.